Hello everyone, this is Robert Radford with the 50 Years of Chess, covering the Bristol Congress which I took part in last weekend, and I've showed you the first 3 games of the 5-round tournament, and this is round 4. My opponent is Matthew Howell. He plays for the Howell Chess Club in Bristol, Howell Folkhouse Chess Club. Now, Matthew's rated around 1553, I believe, or 56, something like that. I was white, and this game was played on Sunday morning. Yeah, on the Sunday morning. So, round 4, here we go. I played d4. Matthew played knight f6, knight f3, g6, c4, bishop g7, knight c3, d5. So we've got kind of Grunfeld now where he's pushed the pawn after he's played bishop g7, but and I haven't played, and I wouldn't have played knight f3. But if we hadn't had those 2 moves, it would have been the Grunfeld proper. So I declined taking the pawn, and I just played e3. Played a quiet move. He's gone c5, so he's coming in quite aggressively. So I took on d5, he took, and I went bishop e5 check, knight c3, queen a5, putting pressure on that knight on c6. So he took on c3, I retook with the b pawn, keeping my pawn chain together, and he played bishop d7. So I castled. So here now is where, my attack kind of fizzled out here, but it wasn't meant to get anywhere anyway. I knew he was going to play h3, so which I wanted, and he took with the bishop on c6. So I've gone back covering a knight on f3 so he doesn't double my pawns, and he castled, and I played bishop a3. Now this is putting pressure on the c5 pawn. He could go cd, but he chose to play queen c7, which is a bit strange. But I took on c5. He played bishop takes knight, queen takes on f6, b6. So this is his plan. If I go back to b4, he'd play a5, and then when I move to bishop, he picks up the c pawn. So I can understand why he did what he did. But he's overlooked something, and that is his e7 pawn will not be covered once he takes c3. So I went back, and he took on c3, and I took on e7. This is what he missed. He's under 1600, so I mean, he should have seen this, but I can understand. I'm not going to be too critical of his play. So he played rook e8, bishop f6, rook on a to c8, h3, just to make sure I've got an escape square for my king if anything goes wrong. And I just want to see what he's going to do as well. So he pushed that b pawn on. He has got 2-1 on that side, so he's putting all his eggs in his one basket here, trying to do something. So I took the bishop, and he retook the king, and then went after the a pawn on b7. Matthew played queen a5, and I went back to with my queen, d5 with my queen. Rook d8, rook on e to d8. So I checked him, and he went back to g8, and then I went into f6. I always like to get my queen around the opponent's king as near as possible to it if I can before being driven away from that, which is going to try and do now with rook e8 and then rook e6. So I pushed the d pawn on to stop that, and he played queen a3. So he's thinking of maybe coming back to e7 to challenge my queen, but he would lose his a-pawn if he did that, so I'm not sure quite what he's up to. So I played rook f to d1, and he played rook c to d8. Now I brought my queen back behind my d-pawn, because this is where I want to start pushing my own pass pawn on now. I've got a clear advantage here at the moment. It's not classed as a winning chance yet, but it's winning. So he's gone queen back to d6, brought the other rook into the game to c1, and now he's challenging my d-pawn with 3 pieces, and I supported it with the e-pawn. So that's kind of put a stop to that straight away. It probably wasn't that good a move, but I can understand why he did it. Now he's doubled the rooks on rook on d to e, and I played f3. So I've got a nice pawn chain there, all connected, and he's gone back to a3 with the queen, looking at winning that a-pawn. But I just moved my rook up to c2, and he's gone back with his rook to e7, because he can't move the rook on d8 until he moves that rook back. So I now played rook up to d3, challenging his queen altogether, and he's gone back to a5, which is okay. So I need to bring my king into the game to support this attack now. So he's gone rook e7 to d7, and I've doubled my rooks with rook on d to c3, giving me the doubled rooks on the powerful doubled rooks on the c file. He's doubled his rooks up with rook d8, queen now into c5. This is where I'm threatening to win the queen, or by playing, or win material by playing rook across to a3. He'd only be able to go back to c7, and then I'd play queen takes queen, rook takes queen, rook takes rook. So he saw that, and he played rook to d6, so that if I do play rook a3, he would go queen to b6. So I moved my king up another square, getting the king at the board to e3, and now he's gone back there, pinning my queen. So we got a queen swap coming up, and he took, and now I played the other rook up. I played my rook to c6, and he's got a choice: either take the rook or protect that rook with the other rook, but he certainly shouldn't go down another pawn. So he's gone rook takes rook, swapped off, of course, rook takes, and then I'm trying to get him to swap again. He can't take the rook, he will lose, because I'll just push my pawn on before his king could get there. After rook takes rook, pawn takes rook, so he has no choice but to go back and drops another pawn. So he's now 2 pawns down. Let's bring this king over, and I just moved my d pawn up. So he went to king e8. I moved my king up to d4. He's playing b4. I just played king to c4 in case he tries to move his rook off of that file. So he's played f6. He didn't really have a lot of choices of moves really. So I played f4. Now he's gone king into d7, and I've gone g4, h6, h5. It's gone g5, and this has given me the opportunity to play f5 in a moment after I swapped the pawn off. I've now gone f5, and there's nowhere for him to go with the king towards my pawns, and he's going to be driven back. So he's gone back to b8, and this is where I get to move my king up a bit further, and now I can challenge him with rook a7 and drive his king onto the back rank. So first of all, he's played b3. I played rook a7 check. He's gone back to e8 to swap the pawns. He retook the castle on b3, and this is very nice now. Sorry, I can go into king into e6, and it's pretty good. I've got a plus 12 now, so the game is won without any doubt. He's just played rook to b4 because he thinks I'm going into e6. It stops me from doing that. So I just move my rook across to take the pawn on f5. Rook b5 check. Now this was just plain crazy. Just plain crazy. He's got to play the king and he loses a rook after I check him on e7. But I thought I had a quicker way of beating him. This was a mate in 5. And so I took the pawn and let him keep the rook because I knew I was going to check him next go and then it should be over. But he didn't go where I thought, which was rook b1, the right place, but it doesn't matter. He went in rook in e5 and then I played rook check, and once pawns are offered, the rook takes rook and then pawn takes rook. It's gone. So he resigned. But just going back to that situation, there was a mate in 5, but the way I wanted to go was, but if he'd have gone rook b1, I was going to play pawn d7 check, and then he has to go. If he goes king into d8, then I would just mate him in no time with rook e8. So he went. He would have to have gone now king into f7, and then I just well, that's it. I'm going to get him with a mate in any time. But the way I went was a little bit longer. My checkmate I had arranged was a little bit longer, and I should have played rook e7. But like I said to Mr. Stevenson in the comments, when I'm winning a game and I'm winning so easily, I get a bit lazy with my analysis. And I know I'm winning, I know I'm going to win, I'm not going to blow it, but I just went about a little bit longer than I should have done. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the game. He wasn't strong enough to really give me any trouble, but he's such a nice guy, and a very sporting loser as well. He congratulated me most heartedly, and that meant a lot to me. And most people just want to offer out a little limp hand, don't even look at you, and then slope off. But he did say thanks very much and congratulated me and everything. I was very pleased with his the way he conducted himself after losing. So thanks very much, and I'll come back with you to the last game, which was played in the afternoon against Mr. Grant Daly from Down End Chess Club. What a game that was. I'll share it with you tomorrow. Bye then. See you then.